Hi guys, I'm Rochelle and welcome back to the YouTube channel. It's gonna be a really heavy video because this is all about how you can bring your dog on your holiday. Please do note that every single information that I'm saying from here on out, please go and check on the accuracy and the latest, most updated information on NParks' website. I am not NParks, I do not belong to the government, so all the information should come from there. Okay, the first thing and the first disclaimer that I have to make is that you guys please be a responsible dog owner. I would really hate for all our experience to be ruined because some people decide to be irresponsible and make trouble and make things difficult for the airline staff, you know, like insisting of taking your dog out of the carrier when it's not allowed. Just make this a proper experience for everybody and not ruin it, like, you know, like how like SQ had to take away the whole like pet in cabin thing because of certain situations. Please don't let that happen again, okay? So that also means that you guys have to start training your doggos really early on to stay in their bag zipped up, okay? And it's not like, oh, you know, oh, they're very comfortable in their bag already. But zipping them up completely is a completely different story. So you have to work on that, okay? So for Poofy, right? So I started training her intensively 30 days before our trip. So every single night she would sleep in her bag zipped up completely to make sure that she is used to it and is comfortable and can do the same in the airplane. So we are going to get down to what we are all here for, the steps. So there are a lot of nitty-gritty details and things that has to be done, but the full information, like I said just now, can be found on NParks' website. When you are traveling with your dog, you might think that you are just traveling with your dog, but you're actually importing and exporting your dog, okay, literally. It's as good as you getting like a puppy from overseas. So that's exactly what you're doing with your dog. So imagine you export your dog from Singapore to the other country and then you import your dog back into Singapore again. So with that structure in your head, let's get to it. A few things to note. I know a lot of you guys ask me like, how do I fly with my pet in cabin with me? The first criteria would be that your pet plus the carrier cannot be more than 8 kg. You're basically like paying for an additional baggage lah. So your additional baggage cannot be more than 8 kg. Anything weighing more than that will have to go in the cargo, which means your dog might have to go into the cargo if it's too big or too heavy. So there are a few pet-friendly airlines that you can Google for, but usually you can look out for European airlines that are pet-friendly, or if not your Asiana or Korean Air. I think they are pet friendly as well. So Poofy is actually a Pomeranian. She is weighing 3.2 kg. With her bag she was actually 5 kg only. So yeah, you guys can actually use that as a gauge lah. Definitely, she's not like the smallest Pom out there, but she's small enough to be in the carrier. They also have like measurements that you have to take note of for your carrier. They're not super strict on it, but just make sure it doesn't look too big and bulky. Okay, so how the booking of the pet in flight work would be that you book your flight first and then you email them, or I think like indicate in the booking. She wants to go down, you see? Indicate in the booking that you're flying with a pet.
Okay, I know that this has been a long-awaited video, and literally right after I filmed that video, like 5 days later, the government actually released new regulations for the pet travel. But don't worry, it's not like huge changes. Most of the information that you'll be watching will generally be very relevant still. So the changes that you have to take note: number one, there is now only 3 categories of countries, category 1, 2, and 3. Now, any country that's not in category 1 and 2 will be put under category 3, and category 3 will require at least 30 days of quarantine if your pet is coming from there. So in category 2, we have really good news. There are new countries that are added into category 2 where your dog can come back without quarantine, and that includes United States of America. Oh my god, I am really so happy because I've always dreamt of like potentially moving to USA, and I kind of just want to bring Poofy over there to like experience the life there, you know, like the freedom that dogs have over there. And then the last change that I think would be the most important to you guys, if you're watching these, I'm sure you want to know the procedure. The only thing that has changed is that if you want to travel every single year, you will have to do your serology test plus your rabies jabs every single year. You are not allowed to skip any year at all. The rabies jab is available for 1 year. The serology test is also valid only for a year. The timeline kind of changes a little bit because you guys will have to do the serology test 28 days after your rabies jab. That's number one to take note. And number two, the serology test will need to happen more than 90 days before you come into Singapore. So 28 days after your rabies jab and 90 days before you actually fly off or come back. That's pretty much it. Those are the changes.
Okay, so let's start talking about the steps officially. So these steps will differ depending on which country you are entering. So a lot of you guys also asked me about quarantine. Poofy did not need to do quarantine because she was traveling to Europe. There is a whole chart. Basically, your category A and B countries do not require quarantine. Category C onwards requires quarantine. I think category C is like at least 10 days, and then like D, and then it's like 20 days or something like that. Rule of thumb, you can only travel to Europe and Japan to ensure that there is no quarantine on both sides. So even though Australia is in category A, they actually require quarantine on that side, so it will not be ideal to bring your dog. So after checking all that, you can start doing the task and booking your flights. We are gonna start with how to import your dog, in this case to Switzerland. So if your puppy is young and is Singapore bred, you will have to probably do 2 rabies vaccines for them to have enough antibodies based on what the vet actually told me. So if your puppy is 3 years and older and they actually flew from overseas, your puppy might also need to do like 2 jabs in order to have enough antibodies. It's up to you whether you want to check it after the first jab or after the second jab. For Poofy, because of the vet's recommendation, I decided to do 2 jabs before we did the rabies serology test. Poofy's rabies jabs actually cost $76 for 1 jab. And then you also need to get a vaccination certificate that's also signed and stamped by the vet in order for it to be official and submitted. Okay, so after a waiting period of more than 30 days from your very first rabies jab, you will need to go to the vet and take the serology blood test to test the rabies antibodies in your pet's body. So the level that is required will be 0.5 IU per ml test results, so that is the measure that they use. And for Poofy, because she got 2 jabs, right, her level was actually 11.5, so it's actually very high lah. The test ranges from $200 to $800. So let's go to talking about serology blood tests. There is actually 2 types, RFFIT and FAVN. RFFIT is $200 plus, FAVN is $800 plus. On paper, based on the stipulated rules, both are actually accepted by Singapore, but I don't know why we did RFFIT this time. So one of the officers didn't actually recognize the RFFIT test results and kept asking us for like the official test results document. So we had to go through a whole loop of like calling and checking, etc. before they actually accepted it. So it's really up to you to decide which test you want to do ultimately, because both are accepted. But obviously, like I said, FAVN is extremely expensive, it's like 800 plus. RFFIT is 200 plus. This is how the RFFIT test results actually look like. If you Google online, right, you see the FAVN test results and you see how it looks like. It actually looks like super official compared to this lah. So ultimately, what you got to do, right, is to make sure that you get it stamped and signed by your vet and the lab. Okay, so this is the IDEXX lab, and then there's a signature here. Okay, so this is not just my vet, it's also the lab that signed the lab results. So other than that, the last thing that you will need is the yearly core mandatory vaccination. That is like your dog's vaccination for canine distemper, hepatitis, and the parvoviral infection jab. Okay, so that one you also have to do. You can do this whenever, there's no waiting time required as long as it's done before the trip. Same thing, vaccination certificate will require a chop and sign from the vet. So importing a dog to Switzerland also means you need the veterinary health certificate to be filled up along with all the vaccination certificates. So how you get this template is that you got to download it from Switzerland's site and get your Singapore vet to fill it up and sign it for you, and then get AVS or NParks in this case to sign and stamp it for you for it to be official and for you to enter Switzerland. So this is how it should look like. Okay, we're gonna move on. So you will need Singapore to endorse the vet health cert and to enter Switzerland. And Singapore, when I say Singapore, I mean like AVS. So these can be submitted on the same day as your vet visit, but you have to bring your laptop with you. We almost screwed this part up because why is because you will have to drive to AVS at GEM office tower to drop off all these documents. And in order for you guys to do that, right, you will have to have an application number which you will have to write on this envelope. Okay, so remember to bring envelope also. I must buy envelope and put all your documents inside. And then just state your application number on the paper envelope. So you must be asking me, how do I get this application number for submission after the vet visit? You can actually use your phone app to actually scan the vet health cert that has just been signed, and then you submit it on the Go Business Licensing portal. So after filling up all the details, right, they will give you an application number. Okay, so this step was the part where I'm like freaking confused. I'm like, where the hell the application number come from? But yes, just follow my steps, okay? Go Business Licensing portal to go to click the option Veterinary Health Certificate. So after you fill up all the details, right, they will give you an application number which you will write on top of the envelope for submission. So the documents needed for submission at AVS would be your Vet Health Certificate, Swiss side one, which you need them to sign, vaccination certificates, which is your rabies vaccination and your yearly jab vaccination, serology test report, and then your health cert submission checklist. The submission checklist looks something like this, okay? You can just like check it and then submit it together with your entire envelope. Okay, so this endorsement by Singapore side will cost $23 and it will take about 2 working days. So they actually stated like next working day on the website lah, but it depends on when you submit it and when they collect the hard copy documents from downstairs, their office. So it is safer to say that it will take 2 working days. And all these can be done 1 week before you fly. So this is the import part to Switzerland. Now we talk about the export part from Singapore. So your dog is leaving Singapore. What is the requirements needed? So Singapore's requirement would be an export license. How do you apply for the export license? This can be done by applying and obtaining a license from Go Business Licensing portal within 30 days of leaving. License only valid for 30 days, so please do take note, don't apply too early. Make sure you are leaving Singapore within 30 days. So you go to Go Business Licensing portal and then you search for license to import/export/transship animals, birds, eggs and biologics (personal). Then you just follow the steps required and pay for your export license. That's for leaving Singapore. So the documents you need in summary: vaccination cert for rabies jab, vaccination cert for core vaccination, serology blood test, and vet certificate of the other country, in this case Switzerland's vet cert. Okay?
So we're gonna do this timeline backwards. Let's start with the day that you reach Singapore, and then you have your entire trip duration. Okay, 30 days before you reach Singapore, you have to apply for your import license. 30 days before you leave Singapore, you have to apply for your import license. 90 days before you reach Singapore, you have to do your rabies serology test. And 28 days before your serology test, you have to do your rabies jab. So total time needed, I would say start prepping 5 months before your trip.
Okay, so on the day of your flight, all you got to do is you just head to the check-in counter as usual with your pet, and then just pay for the pet on board fees that was around $170 for Poofy to go to Switzerland. What's really troublesome is coming back into Singapore. So you need the same stuff as leaving Singapore, but this time you fill in the vet cert from Singapore side. So you can find this on the NPark website. Just Google veterinary Health Certificate Singapore. This is the first page of the document, okay? It's just there. It is linked in the whole website, so you all can actually just print it out from there. And yes, must print. Everything also must print. Singapore, everything also must print. For entering Singapore, the documents that you will need is vaccination cert for your rabies jab, vaccination cert for your COVID vaccine, serology blood test, vaccination cert, Singapore one that is already filled in, your dog license. You should already have a dog license because you already own the dog lah, so you should have applied for it already. And last but not least, your import license. Import license is very mafan, so just take note. So application of the import license is the same link as your export license, and similar to your export license, it expires within 30 days. Okay, and then you don't have to submit the declaration of facts to do with GST because you are just traveling, not buying a dog, so you can ignore that step. So you got to do the same thing as with Switzerland. So in order to enter Switzerland, you have to go to a vet and then go to like AVS, which is the government body, right? It's going to be the same thing, but you do it in Switzerland instead. So you go to a vet and let them do the necessary health checks on the dog before they sign the Singapore Vet Health Certificate template and fill in all the necessary details like the deworming treatment and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna put the vet that we visited right here and their email, okay? After that, you pay a visit to the equivalent of NParks or AVS in Switzerland. Please email them as early as you can in order to book your slot and appointment to make sure that your trip will not be delayed or disrupted. So this process, including driving time from the vet to the what they call canton vet, right, takes about 3 hours in total lah. So just cater about 3 hours of your time. Ideally, just keep your whole day empty, just in case anything happens or like any delays whatsoever. So once the documents are signed over there by both parties, by the vet and the canton vet in Switzerland, you are ready to go to come back to Singapore. So when you touch down, right, you have to head to the lost and found counter in Changi Airport where they will go through all your paperwork, make sure you have it all in hard copy. They will then make you surrender your dog over to them where they bring her to CAPQ, which is CAPQ, to get a check first, and then you can collect her from there. So once you surrender your dog, right, you will then proceed to collect your luggage and then come out from the airport. So in order to collect your dog from CAPQ, it is best to arrange private transport. I think this is something that no one else knows. It's just from experience and like the things that my friends shared lah. But private transport will be the best. Obviously you can say, but there are cabs and there's public transport. Obviously public transport cannot because you cannot bring your pet on board, right? And then for cab, right, it's very, very troublesome because the entrance requires you to exchange your IC with them and queue up and wait. So a lot of waiting time is required, and I don't think a cab driver would be like happy to do it lah, because it's a lot of time wasted, and then like they cannot earn much money while doing all the waiting with you. So they might just leave you in the lurch and then you'll be stuck down there not knowing what to do. So it's best to arrange a private transport, ask your friend to help or your family to help. So instead of driving to CAPQ, right, you will not be, on the GPS, right, from Changi Airport, you will not be driving to CAPQ. You will be driving to Changi Air Freight Centre Pass Office. Don't drive to CAPQ because the last time we drive to CAPQ, we're like, oh my god, it's only 10 to 15 minutes drive. Actually, it's a wrong one because we cannot enter the entrance. That is like for like the internal people to enter. So you have to go like a 20 to 30 minute drive to Changi Air Freight Centre Pass Office in order to enter. You have to park your car at the entrance and then do your pass exchange. So they will actually see your documents there in hard copy before they let you in. Especially important is your hard copy import license. Why am I saying this? Is because before we didn't print our import license, right, and then we got stuck down there, and then they were like, no, we can't let you in if you don't give me your hard copy import license. Then I'm like, oh my god, can we email you guys? And they're like, nope, sorry, we only got fax machine. who uses fax machine nowadays? So from the entrance, right, you drive about 3 to 5 minutes to Cap Q, where they will check your paperwork again and then release your dog to you before you head home. Okay, so for us, right, it took about 1 hour of separation from Poofy. So you can also put air tag on your dog lah, to kind of see where he or she is roughly, to know roughly what time they can be released. But for us, it only took 1 hour, so it was really quite fast. Okay, I know this video is gonna be like crazy super long and I'm just talking and talking and talking non-stop, but I hope this actually helps you and gives you some like insights into how to fly with your dog. I will link the TikTok of my experience flying with Poofy in the description down below, okay? So if you guys have any more questions, maybe you can ask NParks to ask me. Oh my gosh, like honestly this whole process was like super troublesome, but it was really worth it lah. And I think once you have done it once, right, it will be considered quite easy. Like you will not struggle as much as I did. And I think with all these tips and tricks that I have shared and pointers that I have shared so far, right, I think it will be very helpful and you guys will have an easier time traveling than me, hopefully. Okay, so I think that's all for this video. Of course, if you have any other like training questions or things that you want to know about the trip, let me know. You can also look at the vlog that we did for this trip and then look at all the recommendations, pet-friendly recommendations. We did not leave Poofy in the Airbnb alone at any point in time because I just didn't feel like it was right of us to do it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Please do like this video and subscribe to my channel because it really helps us a lot and I really appreciate it because it really takes a lot of effort making these videos lah, okay? So, alright, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!